You like doing this. Okay, there. You're going to tell us about sledding when you were a kid. My head's in the way, Tom.
You ready?
Yep. She's got the camera on.
Well, sledding back in the Appalachian Mountains was really rough. We had small homemade sleds, and they didn't look anything like a sled you have today. Or we didn't have tubes or nothing else, just an old sled, two runners. You'd have to drag it a long ways up a hill, and that would be where there'd been a field where you grow corn and stuff, and go as far as you could drag it, jump on and ride to the bottom, and it can be a long ways and fast. Well, I had a thing, I was sledding a short distance, but we had a fence with the slats running long ways from post to post, and over on one end, the bottom slat was part way cut off and left a big hole. And my idea was to ride that sled down that steep bank, and just as I got to that hole, I'd have to lay back on my sled and not get hurt. My mother told me, said, "Alan, you quit doing that, you're going to get hurt." Oh, I know what I'm doing. Well, I was about 7 years old, and in my last run, I didn't lay back fast enough, and that slat hit me right in the forehead, slammed me back against the sleigh, rolled me off on the ground in the snow, and Mom had to carry me to the house like a rag doll. I was unconscious, and I didn't wake up till the next day.
What?
Yeah.
How old were you?
7. And that was the last time I rode the sleigh down through the hole in the fence.
Oh, man. You're lucky she didn't wear you out.
But you could ride, like, if you wanted to drag it high enough, you could, like from here to Cook and Shannon's, right down the mountain.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Now,
And
what kind of, because you guys didn't have all these fancy clothes and fancy Thin brand clothes to wear to bundle up and keep warm, like, describe what your coat was and gloves and hats.
Didn't have any gloves, and for the most part we didn't have socks. We didn't have underwear. You just had a pair of bib overalls and maybe, if you're lucky, some kind of a little old long sleeve shirt.
A mom would make underwear for a girl, but boys didn't have underwear.
In the spring, long old 1st of March or last of February, your shoes would be wore out and the sole would come loose from the shoe and it'd just be flopping around. Well, at that time, the old canning jars had a rubber seal ring that they'd put on the jar and put the lid on. Well, I got the smart idea just to take those rubber rings and warm them up till they'd stretch and put them down over my shoes and hold my shoe sole in place while I played in the snow.
Did it work?
It worked.
Well, good idea.
But clothes back in the mountain, didn't have any hats, gloves, and now that was the poor people. Now there was a few people that had decent clothes. I didn't have a dad that bring in a paycheck, and but the ones that did, they had decent clothes to wear. So I got stuck with nothing. But I didn't feel bad because my brothers and sisters didn't have anything either. So wintertime in the Appalachians was a raw dog. You just dreaded the day that it'd start snowing, getting cold. And a lot of times, you only got one pair of shoes a year.
And socks?
And socks, but socks didn't last long. And you'd you get one pair of shoes, and if you wore them out, you didn't get any more. And most of the time, it would be the 1st of November before I would get my winter shoes, so that they'd last me till the weather warmed up. If you got them in September or October, you'd have them wore out by Christmas. And
Toby.
my mother would advise my sisters, don't you all jump the rope at school, because it just tear your shoes up and we don't have money to buy more. So my sisters never got to jump rope.
Ah.
But they did, their shoes would last them. So
It's upside down.
it was a hard life. Very hard. But it made me tough. If you survive, you have to be tough to survive, and that helps you in later years in life. Being without anything, not having anything, you learn if you do get a hold of something, you hold it tight.
It's both ways.
When I was 12 years old, I started trapping in the wintertime, and then
Hello?
I'd work for some of the local farmers during the summer.
We're talking with Papa.
We have to be quiet,
Oh,
Thurston's on the phone.
Toby wants me to come home. He's crying.
Yes, go home to your son. Don't make him cry.
Toby, we'll be home. We're going to leave at 11. Okay? Okay, bye. I'll see you later. There. Bye, Toby. Okay, I'm done.
But then when I was 16, I started working for the Del Monte Food Company in Illinois, and worked till school started. I'd earn enough money to pay my keep for a whole year, and put myself through high school, college. I worked for Del Monte 7 years. So if you buy something with Del Monte food, you're automatically helping some kid get a college education.
You think they still do that?
No.
Yes, they still do it.
Probably do like internships, stuff like that.
There's enough people out of work. It's all automation. They don't need manual labor.
I don't know. We ought to investigate and find out.
I have to know now.
From here, it would take about the best part of 6 hours to get to where
They got one machine that does what 50 of you people used to do, Alan.
Explain how you used to get there. Like,
hitchhike first year. My brother and his buddy, there's 3 of us hitchhiking, and they decided they'd bust up. They were having trouble getting a ride, 3 people and 3 suitcases, and so they just talked it over without me knowing about it, that they'd just get together and go on off down the road and leave me, and they thought maybe I'd get discouraged and turn around and go back home. Well, I beat those guys there 2 days.
Wow.
Yes. They didn't know it, but just one guy hitchhiking, he'd get ever riding on the road.
That's true.
I beat them 2 whole days. And they were very upset and disappointed.
Did you ever turn down a ride from someone because you thought they were creepy?
No. And
Would you today?
I probably would today if I was hitchhiking.
Are people creepier today?
Yes, there's more of it.
No.
do you think it?
The percentage is up.
Would you stop for a hitchhiker?
No.
Yes.
Would you have back then if you had a car?
I would have then.
I remember as a kid,
Oh,
Watch. See the time? Okay, there it goes again.
yeah.
Story
Okay.
time again, Alan.
We're back. Woohoo!
Woohoo! Got it working.
So did you just pick green beans? Did you pick green beans?
We're in Illinois.
Yeah.
No, peas.
Peas.
Oh.
Sweet peas. Yes. And corn. Cream style corn, whole kernel corn. They got the peas in first. That took about 4 to 5 weeks, and then you finish the season with the corn. You take right off and do that. But their work was so hard and strenuous, you had to work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, if it rained, a rainy day, you didn't work. You got a day off. And the local people around there were farmers. They were all set. Their kids were set. They didn't have to. They worked on the farm. They didn't have time to work for the Del Monte Food Company.
Well,
Wait.
where did you sleep?
They had a special big bunkhouse. Huge thing. They furnished all the food, 3 meals a day,
You can Google
furnished your
pictures.
place to sleep, kept your bedclothes clean and everything. Didn't cost you a dime. And most of it paid 90 cents to $1.25 an hour.
Do you remember what town it was in or near?
Mendota, Mendota, Illinois.
I don't know where that is.
And small town, it's somewhat bigger than Winchester, or about that size. And
Describe like what breakfast was or lunch, supper. What did they feed you?
just typical breakfast food.
A bowl of
Uh,
cereal.
No,
See, it wasn't
Bacon.
typical.
all
Bacon, eggs,
kinds of
pancakes.
meats. You had eggs, you had biscuits, bread. They fed us like workhorses, which we were.
Hmm.
And you could eat all you could eat. And same way with the other meals. He fed you a lot of beans and taters and meat. And the company furnished everything. It was a good place to work. And I'm sure they're doing the same thing. The Del Monte Food Company in the wintertime would go to all the colleges all over, especially in the South. They knew that's where the poor people were. And they'd get these college kids to sign up and go work for them during the summer. So my brother Wallace had worked 1 year, and then he got me into it when I was 16. I had a job waiting on me before I left Line Fork. And I don't regret any of it. I stuck a pitchfork through my calf of my left leg.
What?
All the way
Yeah.
through.
It was awful.
I just had to pull it out. Very painful. They took me to the doctor, got me a tetanus shot, put a Band-Aid on each hole, right back to work. Because they couldn't do without me.
I'm dying.
And yeah.
And you didn't go home crying to mommy. You stayed and worked.
Yeah. You're right through the calf of the leg, the middle of it, just bam. That outside prong, the biggest one. You're shoveling these pea vines into a big hopper going up. And it somehow or another, it stuck and slipped out, and the fork slipped. And when it slipped, the way I was standing, it bam. And that was very painful.
You think?
Yeah. I think it hurt worse pulling it out than it did when it went in.
Oh man.
So it's
He's got the touch of the pneumonia.
Yeah. He's recovering from pneumonia.
that was a fun thing, and so and you had to work so much. I sent all my money home, and my mother put it in the bank for it, and that way.
My feet are cold. I just gotta warm my feet for a minute.
Here, let's put it over at your chair.
No, I'm good. I can share it. That's a big
No.
heating pad.
Yeah.
I just need my toes
She
warm.
wants to share it with you, Alan.
Yeah,
Just share.
I'm good.
Chill.
I just need a few.
I don't need it.
Daughter.
That's the best idea I've had in a long time.
I told you that a heating pad makes a world of difference instead of extra layers of clothes. Just, ooh.
I was sitting here with my sock feet. The house was warm, but you know, my feet's gonna get cold.
No, I'm good.
Now
I live
you get real good.
I live with an electric blanket wrapped around me. I miss it right now. It's my best friend and my favorite child. Ooh.
But that
I love it. Kana got me a second one
Wait.
for Christmas.
Wait, just a minute. You said that you will never be friends with your children. How is that stupid thing your best friend and your favorite child?
Because I don't hear any crap from it. It does its job and leaves me alone.
There's me as a cute little kid.
No messes, no nothing. I turn it on, it functions. I turn it off, I'm done.
Whatever. Your stories aren't as good as his.
No, yeah. Lester's a good storyteller. When he's not hacking with pneumonia.
you want another good story? When I was 7,
Yeah.
Was
Wait,
that like the
hold
year
on,
of
stop it,
Alan
and then
almost
restart so it
dying?
doesn't time out.
2 brothers.
Oh, okay.
Oh
Is
no.
it on?
Yeah, okay, so it's about your 2 brothers.
Yeah,
And you're 7 years
Brother
old.
Wallace and Harry, they went fishing and caught a big old 20-pound turtle. Huge thing. They brought it home, and Mom told them to skin it out and get it in the kitchen so she could fry it. Well, they managed to get the head cut off and just had it laying over to one side. After they got the turtle cleaned and took it in to Mom, the turtle's mouth was open. And Harry asked Wallace, said, "You think that turtle's head can still bite?" He said, "Yes, it can still bite, and don't touch it." And Harry went over and put his finger in it.
Oh God.
Now, you got to get this, the old turtle head was just laying out there all by itself with its mouth open, and when his finger touched it, it closed up like an alligator. And they had to hunt a hammer and chisel that turtle's mouth open to get his finger out.
Yeah, because the nerves are still there to react. Oh gosh. Now, which brother stuck his finger in there?
Harry.
Well, that sounds
Yeah.
like something he would do. I mean, most people would pick up a stick and stick that in there,
While we're on this turtle thing, how can you make a turtle open its mouth?
Here.
The easiest way ever is you take a stick, a small stick, or a blade of grass, whatever you can get your hands on, and stick it up its nose hole. And bam, instantly, you touch that turtle's nose, and he flops his mouth open. Nah. That's the only way you can get the turtle's mouth open.
I'm gonna.
When he's still alive and walking around.
Hopefully, no one listening to this can ever need that advice.
But if
Don't
you
stick
ever,
your finger in turtle's
if you ever
mouth.
get turtle bit and it hangs on, all you have to do is just get you something and stick up his nose, and it'll open his mouth, and you can get your finger out.
Somebody stuck something up my nose, I'd probably open my mouth too.
I doing more than opening my mouth.
Nice things wouldn't come out of my
And the
mouth.
same thing.
Hope that they never have to put an NG tube down ya.
Well, no,
Those are not a joy to put down.
they're gonna knock me out to do anything like that.
And the same thing works. It was just a turtle head laying there. You want him to open his mouth. Just put a stick in his nose. Bam, he'll open it for you. Whether it's on the turtle or off. It still works both ways.
Oh, so I was telling I don't remember how this came up, but somehow I was telling Brent that whenever we would skin a turtle, you always would let me play with the eggs if it was a female because they're like a bouncy ball. And so now he wants to see this in real life
Just born.
because he doesn't really believe me. I think he thinks I'm making it up.
Oh, yeah, that is hard.
Yeah.
But they're orange and they bounce better than a bouncy ball.
Yeah, and they get the ones, they'll have the ones in their belly with the shell on it. And the shell's real soft.
Yeah.
But then if you leave it out in the air for a little bit, then they get hard. Same way with a chicken egg. When a hen lays an egg, that egg is soft as a wet sponge. But as soon as air hits it, bam, it hardens up. Did you know that? Yeah.
No.
But all hen eggs are real soft when they're first laid. And then in just a very few seconds, they're hard as a rock.
Well, I'd like him to figure out how to get them out without pooping on them. That'd be nice.
You'll have to train your hens to use Charmin toilet paper. And that will solve your problem.
I guess if they can get a bear to do it, they can get a chicken to do it.
Yeah. What else we want to know?
How old were you when you stuck the nails in your front porch to catch your sister's toes?
That was terrible.
No,
Very,
this was in the
very
doorway
bad.
in the house. All
Oh.
the doorways.
What'd you
I
do on the
was,
front porch? You did something on the front
10,
porch.
11 years old.
Oh, okay.
And you don't drive the nail dead center in the doorway. You put it
Now-
outside where somebody's foot would be.
Don't be teaching any kids how to do this.
And as they go scooting their feet along, going from one room to the other, they slide their toes right up between that nail, and bam, they would be on their face.
You're lucky they didn't team up and kill you.
But
They,
then,
they just thought a loose nail came up the floorboards. It was
then I
Lester.
could see, I just did it a little bit, had some fun, and I stopped doing it.
How old were you when you admitted that you did it?
Today.
No. That was a going thing.
Oh.
You
Everybody knew it.
Oh.
yeah.
It was passed down.
Yeah.
It would take them a while to figure it out.
Right.
Lester. Are you getting warm now?
Yeah. Temperature change.
Time for solstice and a heated blanket and bedtime. It's 10:20. I'm too old for this. I gotta go to bed.
Oh my God, you're not that old.
Okay, we've had a good visit.
When you were a kid, about 10, 12 years old, and weather was like this, cold, snowy, bitter cold out, did you guys still go to school or did you stay home?
School was never closed in all of my 12 years of school. They never closed. If there was one kid there or no kids, There was never a closed day. Well, there's no telephones, there's no way to get the message out in the first place. And up till I was in the 7th grade, when I started the 7th grade, I got to ride a bus. But before that, you walked. If it was 12 inches of snow, you'd just be thankful it wasn't 18 and go on. And your feet would get ice cold, wet, sloppy. And when you got to school, you could look at the side of the building and see cracks in the wall and see the outside. And the schoolrooms were very cold, miserable. It's odds are 1 in 1,000 we learned anything. But the way we learned was from repetition. If you started in 5th, 6th, 7th, 4 classes in one room, you're back here in the 4th grade. Time you're in the 5th grade, you know everything about the 6th and 7th and 8th because you hear what they're talking about. I was in the 3rd grade and the teacher had me reading a story, and I was just right down the line, just word for word, and I was looking out the door and seeing what was going on outside, and I was running this story word for word right back, and she saw that I wasn't even looking at the book, and she just spun my head around with one big slap. Told me to pay attention. I'd heard that story 15,000 times. I knew it. Word for word where all the question marks and periods went and the whole 9 yards. But I got a good slap out of not paying attention.
Did you learn to fake it after that?
I got a good enough a slap that woke me up, and I never did do that anymore. But you got a big paddle on your butt. Where are you plumb out? Okay. Then your brothers and sisters will go home. Okay, Mom, Alan got a whipping at school today. She'd give me one twice as hard. So you was guaranteed 2 whippings for one crime.
Did you ever try and bribe your sisters not to tell on you?
No, wouldn't done no good.
Did you tell on them?
They didn't get whippings. And just like at home. I remember seeing Mom, she whipped my sister Ruth. We lived up in the holler in the old log house, and my sister Ruth was telling Mom that one of a history class, science class or something was going to bring him back up the road. He's going to walk up on the mountain and walk back into a cave, limestone cave. And Mom said, if you go into that cave, I'll give you a whipping. Well, she came home that evening and she's bragging about she went in the cave. Mom went out and got her a good switch and just wore her out. And she would have been a junior in high school. I do remember that, and that's the only whipping I know of.
Why did she not want her in the cave?
I don't know.
Death, probably.
Oh,
Good way to get your killing.
Superstition, but knowing caves, they fell in.
And
They weren't inspected and safe.
but it was, that's the only sibling that I ever saw get whipping. I got so many, and the rest of them noticed how I was getting beat up. They were a tad smarter, and they never got into trouble. But I had to entertain myself, and I just couldn't sit there twiddle my thumbs.
Was it worth it most of the time?
Why, yeah.
What was the worst whipping you think you got? School or
My
your
last
mom?
whipping. I was 13 and a half years old, and I said some curse words in the house. Mom went out and got a big switch, wore me teetotally out. I pulled her loose from her and went out of the house and said some more cuss words. Well, she went and found more switches, 3 big ones, size of your thumb, and she found me and she dragged me into the house, into the living room. She said, "Now, Alan, there's 3 things going to happen right here. I'm going to break you from cussing, I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to die trying." She let in on me, and when she turned me loose, I just spread out on the floor, almost unconscious. Laid there for a while, pulled myself up, and left. Gone about 3 hours, got hungry, drug back in the house, and my 2 sisters, Mary and Eva, had to pull my shirt off my back because the blood had dried and stuck to my skin, and I couldn't get my shirt off, and they ripped it off of me. That's where I got the shirt off. But I didn't cuss anymore. It stopped that.
Well, it worked.
Jesus.
So that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, because I was getting ready to say, because like now, they call Child Protective Services and the kids taken in foster care, and
Oh yeah, she had to do that.
that
Wow.
it was pretty rough.
What an idiot. That's all I can say she was.
But I had it coming. Mom knew the rules.
It was probably you got whooped that hard because you took the switch more than cussing.
His sisters attested to he was quite a rambunctious child. He was a handful for his mom. He was a handful.
But you can imagine, or try to imagine, how hard it was to raise 12 kids and no husband to bring money in or food. It had to be almost an impossible chore. But somehow the lady managed to do it. If she got a hold of $1, she would squeeze it until the eagle squalled. She wouldn't let it go unless she could get at least $1.50 worth of good out of that $1. It didn't make no difference. No pop, no candy, none of that kind of stuff.
80% of the country was like that, Alan.
And so we survived. And
All right, I gotta make Toby happy and go home.
yeah,
10:30.